Welcome to the market recap presented by Tackle Trading. Get in the game.
Good afternoon, Tackle Traders, and hello, YouTube. This is Frank coming to you with another market recap. We're sitting on August 21st, a Tuesday, and definitely another bullish day in the market. So let's get right into it. We do have a few more earnings coming up. Taking a quick look before we see what happened today. We do have Urban Outfitters coming out tonight, BHP Billiton, so a few of the larger names coming out this evening. As well as Lowe's coming out here tomorrow, and Target, I believe, is tomorrow as well. So we do still have some retail earnings and a few stragglers in the technology sector coming our way. So be keeping an eye on that. But retail had another strong day overall in the market on more good earnings. It's been a very strong area, that is for sure. Shifting gears and taking a look at what we really came here for. Let's start off with our NASDAQ. Again, kind of just lagging behind. It had a better day than it's had over the last few trading sessions. Did approach its high point before kind of selling off on the intraday. So really nothing too substantial to report in regards to the NASDAQ. It definitely was the boring index of the day. Our S&P briefly hit an all-time high. Now, important to note, it didn't close at that all-time high. It did sell off and kind of close right below it, as you can kind of see here as we zoom. Let's try to zoom in a little bit. Maybe I'm going to zoom. There we go. Kind of closed right back below that resistance, but we were able to at least briefly break through and hit us an all-time high in the S&P 500. So no confirmation of a break, but definitely some oomph behind it today to get through that resistance level. That's for sure. Taking a look at our Dow Jones, it, of course, had broken out yesterday and continued that momentum today with another strong overall performance in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So definitely remains one of our stronger averages at this point in time. One thing that's kind of cool about this chart, if you think back to a few, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago, when we first saw our healthcare sector break out, there really wasn't a lot of resistance from the original breakout point until its high point, right? We saw that. We'll take a look at it when we look at the healthcare sector. But we look very similar here with the Dow Jones. We broke resistance. Technically speaking, there's not any great reason that we can't work back towards those highs. There's nothing in our way as we try to march our way up there. And I always like that as a bull. I don't want things in my way. That they can stay out of my way. I'm all right with that. The exciting news of the day, though, of course, was the Russell breaking out, closing above that resistance level that it had been fighting with, giving us a little bit of confirmation. Unlike the S&P, who tried and failed, at least for today, the Russell tried and succeeded. So we're able to close above that breakout point. Very, very bullish signal from a technical point of view. Do keep in mind, there is an ETF, the IWN, that tracks the Russell Index if you want to, not necessarily right now, but when you do want to trade directly into the index, you can also go in, run some scans and FinViz or whatever, targeting, the smaller or mid-cap companies, see what kind of lines up from a technical point of view. If you believe in this breakout, then you probably are looking to do something to take advantage of that, whatever that might mean for you. And me might be a little different. Maybe I'm just trading the ETF because I just want to track that index. Maybe you prefer, a handful of small cap companies that you want to play. One cool thing about small caps is, generally speaking, they can move more than the large cap companies. And of course, any one time, any one thing can happen. But as a general rule, the small cap companies can make bigger moves in shorter time periods than their large cap competitors, I guess, if you will, or peers, or whatever you want to use to describe them. So definitely a very bullish time in the market. Definitely seeing some good things in the market. Clear breakout on the Russell, clear breakout on the Dow, intraday break, but sadly a fail on the S&P, and the NASDAQ even getting closer to testing its breakout. So pretty bullish signals overall going on in the market right now. Our old friends in the material sector are kind of right back to their old shenanigans. they had that 1 day break of the upward trend line that they've been working with in this triangle. Strong rally, been a very strong sector the last few days. We did run up on the intraday, tested that upper trend line, tested the 200-day moving average, and we did sell off at those points. So we'll definitely want to keep an eye out on that. This is kind of a tough one. We're really tightened up. We've had a little bit of a failure, at least in my opinion, it's kind of tough. What I'd like to see, is it to, maybe pull back, make that higher low, and then break some resistance. I'm sure a lot of other bulls would like to see that too, if you want to be bullish on it. But we'll have to wait and see. But certainly we did fail at that trend line yet again, at least for today. That is back in the way. The energy sector had an okay start, but really fizzled throughout the day, kind of closing near the lows. We've talked about crude, we've talked about the ETF and the energy sector, and it's just kind of messy right now. There's just a lot of stuff in the way. There's arguments from a bullish point of view, 200-day moving averages and things like that, but we've made lower lows and lower highs in crude, and we just have lots of levels of resistance that we have to fight through. So for me, I don't really think there's a lot to do personally in that market right now. Maybe tomorrow's EIA report will give us some clarity. But as of today, personally, I kind of feel like it's a leave it alone for the time being. That's my personal take on it. Our financial sector, I was able to continue its overall strength, closing at the top of that range. We've really been pushing resistance. We kind of broke kind of the old highs, but we kind of ran into the highs that we put in when we broke out a couple of weeks ago. So I don't think we can call this a breakout just yet. Personally, I don't think that was a confirmed break. I wouldn't read it that way, but certainly still very strong. Certainly could happen if it's going to, potentially as early as tomorrow on a break, because we're that close at this point in time. Our industrials, on the other hand, they've looked a lot like the financials lately. They were able to break and close, much like the Russell break and close, a very bullish signal. When we are able to do that, of course, no surprise, we've seen the Dow break. And so the industrial, which the Dow is so industrial heavy, having a break coinciding with that, probably makes a little bit of sense. So pretty bullish signals as we look at our industrial sector. Our tech continues, and it's always kind of strange. I guess maybe this is just me, but a big day in the market, I think tech's going to have a good day. But really, it just had a day. Like yesterday and the day before, it's just there. And so nothing really too major happening over in that sector here today. Our staples did start their pullback. We saw that little reverse potential hammer, reversal hammer yesterday. Profit takers did step in today. Probably not, terribly shocking, as we've seen a huge move in about a week. Understand where the profit takers are coming from. We can certainly be watching for that retracement. That's at least what I will be watching for. One area we can look is this old high point that can act as support, but it doesn't have to in our trends. Remember, when we're talking trends, what we're really saying is we should make a higher low. That higher low might be, with that previous high point, but it might be down here and, with the $200 or $54 or somewhere in that general ballpark. So we'll continue to monitor it as we move into the week to see what happens. It's been very strong. And of course, whenever we see something that's very strong, buyers tend to be looking for excuses. So I'm not going to be horribly shocked if it just pops up, immediately tomorrow because, it's back at that old resistance level. That's good enough. We did have a little bit of an intraday run off of that here today. I'm not saying I expect that, but I'm certainly not going to be surprised to see it. We're very strong. Buyers are always looking for good reasons to do stuff, right? Into strength. Can't blame them for that. Utilities also continuing to pull back. We'll definitely want to keep an eye on that. Again, we may or may not get there, but we'll want to keep an eye on that old breakout point. We watch for weeks and weeks for that to break. That's obviously a very important price point in the utility sector. So if and when we get there, we'll definitely want to see how it develops. That would be, potentially a bullish entry. If that fails, that would be a fail break, right? So we'll follow along. Right now, we're kind of in that pullback phase. So if you are interested in utilities or you missed out on utilities like I did, this is an opportunity for us to get potentially that second chance. Let's go find some things that are pulling back, or hey, we'll just trade the sector outright through this ETF. we are looking like we're potentially going to get another shot if we are interested in doing that. I just don't think that is today personally. No confirmation. We still have that downward movement. No buyers have stepped in. And of course, I don't want to be the first buyer to step in. Here's our healthcare. So kind of like when we were talking about the Dow, we broke that resistance and just didn't really have anything till way up here. Now we're fighting with that. We've worked our way to resistance. We've had a ton of strength. We're holding our own, but no terrible surprise that's tough, right? We've had such a great run within this sector. And again, I'm not saying that high point is, completely a bearish signal or anything like that, but it's something that I think traders, and we can, see at least over the last few trading days that, yeah, they're watching, right? They may or may not be overly concerned about it. We may break it tomorrow for all I know, but they're definitely keeping an eye on how it's acting there. Right? It kind of slowed down off of that monster run it had, the second half of last week, as we've got into resistance. So if we see a pullback from here, that would make sense. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing that. If I could have it my way, I'd ask it to pull back a little bit, maybe into about $90 and then take another run. But I could just ask for that, right? Maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. Doesn't hurt to ask though. We were, so certainly overall still strong, but got a little bit of resistance we got to deal with over there right now. We did look at our staples. Yep, we did look at our staples. Our discretionary, there we go. Our discretionary also broke out. We were able to break and clear above resistance. So another very strong bullish signal here in the discretionary sector. Again, it's really been struggling with that resistance. So getting through it is certainly going to be a bullish signal. So things looking very nice over there. And real estate, much like staples, pulling back. Again, remember what really we're thinking here on these pullbacks is we're going to make a higher level of support. That may be work into the trend line. That may catch the previous swing high. We're just going to have to watch and wait to see some sort of turnaround candle before we can expect, that tomorrow is the day. Again, a lot of strength. So buyers decide to, hey, tomorrow is the day. Won't be terribly surprising, but candle-wise and technically wise, I think we have to wait until we get some sort of a signal or at least a potential turnaround candle before we say the bullish entry has opened up once again. But definitely, obviously, any of these sectors have been strong. Pullbacks are fine, right? It gives us another opportunity to trade them if we want them. So again, we'll continue to watch these things that are pulling back. Interesting day, right? We see a few really interesting pullback opportunities developing in staples, in utilities, in real estate. We see breakouts happening in industrials and in discretionary. So a little bit of everything going on right now in the market. A lot of fun today in the market. Crude, of course, much like our energy ETF, just kind of remains choppy and messy. Again, I think you could make an argument on both sides, but right now it kind of ran up and sold off on the intraday. Again, it just has lots of layers. As I kind of am projecting this forward, I'm kind of watching this support level around $64. Again, what I'd kind of like to see to be sold on it, anybody can be sold on for whatever the reasons are. I'd like to see it pull back some, either make a higher low or come back to that 64, then take another run and break some resistance. Until this breaks some resistance, I'm just not going to be, it's going to be hard to get me on board as a bull. And until really it breaks at 64, it's going to be hard to get me on board as a bear. And so for me, at least, I'm kind of in a wait and see. I don't really expect to do anything on crude this week. Just, again, might break support tomorrow. That's always a possibility, but that is not my expectation. I would really like to see it be able to break some resistance before, I decided to be bullish. But again, that's just me. You don't ever have to agree with anything that I say. Natural gas was able to break through that little consolidation we've had over the last week and a half. We were able to break and close above it. Certainly another strong day. Do keep in mind, we do have a lot of resistance zones just a little bit above $3. That will be something that we'll want to be keeping an eye on, even though we're getting a lot of bullish signals in the form of today's breakout. Obviously, the overall movement. We do have some levels of resistance sitting on top of us, not too far away, that we'll definitely want to be keeping an eye out for with natural gas. It certainly can react to resistance. Our dollar index continued to pull back. Pretty exciting for folks who are looking to potentially get in on the dollar. I don't think we've seen any signs that says tomorrow is the day. But now we're back at that old breakout point. We watched it for over a month, battle with that, right? Work back into it. Our 50-day moving average is pretty darn close on the dollar index. I'm going to be watching for some doji or some sort of turnaround candle in the next couple of days. We really came down fairly violently on the dollar. Didn't really see it kind of slow down the closer and closer that we got to that old resistance. I don't think I couldn't jump into this today, but I definitely am interested in the way this chart looks, just not today. At least need a day of turnaround. I can never be the first one in, right? Nobody cares about me, but definitely interesting placement on the chart, in my opinion, at least. We're continuing to work into our retracement in our metals as we look at gold, kind of stalling out a little bit, but again, no turnaround candle or anything like that. But really starting to stall out around 12, which of course we know that big round number has been something traders have been watching for a while. Let's just continue to monitor it over the next couple of days, see what happens. And again, this is going to work both ways. If I'm a bit bear and I want to get into this trend, I'm going to want to see, that turnaround. I've got my reason to think this general ballpark is about where I should expect it to happen. Let's get a day of selling, then I can potentially set a trade up, right? But if I'm a bull, and I'm not, but if I am, I still need to see that because I need to see it come down and either hold support, get back to that previous support level and have more buyers step in, or make a higher level of support and then break resistance. Really good rule of thumb, in my opinion, is if it's not breaking resistance, what are you doing buying it, right? That's something that served me well over the years. Until it's broke some resistance, well, it's got to make some, right? I mean, do we really want it to work all the way back up to a swing high or something like that? I guess it could, but I don't think that's going to happen, and I really wouldn't want it to. If I'm a bull, that's a long ways away for confirmation, right? So hey, maybe I can get a pullback, somebody will jump in, and then I can break resistance, and at least I have that leg to stand on. Now, again, that's not me in gold right now, but that is, of course, a reversal signal, generally speaking, that I can apply to gold right now or anything else when it does happen. Of course, silver, very, very similar to gold right now, as is usually the case. For some reason, my silver chart does not want to come up, so we'll just have to take my word for that. I'll give it one more second before I give up. But yeah, it looks like it doesn't want to come up for some reason. There we go. Seems like my computer is too excited about the day in the market to want to go do work today. So again, another rally, another bullish or bearish retracement rally going on within this in the metals market. So if that is something you're interested in, start to follow. We don't know when or if it's going to happen, but now that we've seen that upward movement, we know the overall trend has been very bearish. Now we can start looking for those signals for a potential bearish entry. That may or may not be what you're looking for, and that's okay too. But again, it's always important to know what you're looking for. There's nothing wrong with me asking for what I want, right? The market's not going to give it to me necessarily, but I can ask for it. I can say, this is what I want to see on you, gold, for a potential trade setup. Maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. But knowing what you're looking for makes looking for things a heck of a lot easier. That is for sure. So that is where we find ourselves in a pretty darn interesting day in the market. Certainly always interesting when you're making new highs, when you're breaking out. That always gets me excited, at least. So we'll see if we can carry on that momentum going into tomorrow. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the market recap for today. As always, I do appreciate everybody's time. If you haven't already, why don't you go ahead and make sure you subscribe to the Tackle Trading YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be alerted of any new videos or any new live streams that we're doing. We've always got something right around the corner for you, and we love to share it with you. If you did enjoy the market recap, it is always helpful and appreciated to give it a thumbs up. Let us know we're doing an all right job. With that, get out of here. Happy trading, and I will see you in the next one.